Hello my beautiful angels, I am so happy to make today's video because my everyday kind of makeup routine was highly requested. So yeah, today I will show you. Sometimes I am changing it up just a little bit, so I will also show you the alternative products that I'm using. It's pretty much the same routine, but just with some steps sometimes a little bit changed. And one thing real quick, while my skincare is still settling in before we apply the foundation, maybe you have noticed that I have a new filming background. My boyfriend and I just moved a few days ago, so on Saturday I think, and the day I'm filming this is on Tuesday, so it's been a while. And regarding the whole renovation and moving process, I'm also vlogging everything. And I think by next week, I might already upload the first video about this. So yeah, maybe next week, maybe in 2 weeks, but however, it is coming. The first thing I do for my everyday makeup is always foundation. I'm using the She Glam Complex and Pro Matte Foundation in the shade Eyeliner. And I must say, it is a little bit too pale for me, but that is no problem because I'm always just mixing it with some foundation or concealer. And I've also noticed that many of you are trying to find a good foundation that is pale but not white or literally yellow. So this is the one, and you can't tell me that you're too pale for this one because this one is really pale. Just let me show you, because I would consider myself already quite pale, not that pale, but a little bit. I mean, it could technically be lighter, but it still gives you color, and I think it's just very good. And this is the amount of foundation I typically use, so I think it's like 2 pumps or 2.5. For concealer, my favorite is the Maybelline Fit Me Concealer in the shade 5, so this one. Honestly, the ratio isn't really important. I just do something and then, yeah, hope that it fits. So this is the ratio, and then I always take a brush. Also, I never ever apply foundation directly to my face, and then I apply it onto my face. Very messy applying it first, and then after that I will blend everything with my beauty blender because obviously this is not as smooth. So yeah, and then also around my eyes. And then when it's about to look like this, I just take my beauty blender and then just very roughly, honestly, blending everything out. And also make sure to blend it a little bit into your hairline. And one thing for my pale girlies, in case you're struggling to find the right foundation shade, if you have pale skin, don't match it with the color of your face, because as you can see, my face is usually much darker. Match it with your neck. I think this is a universal rule, but especially when you have pale skin. And then I go in with a white, yes, literally a white concealer, or it's more like a color corrector because I've already applied foundation around my eyes. So I'm just trying to lighten them a little bit, and if you have pale skin, I can really recommend to just go with a white color corrector because yes, and you won't look like you have even more under eyes, because I feel like when you have pale skin and eye bags, sometimes it's kind of hard to cover them up because sometimes it's more like a backflash. Oh, and also this is the brush that I'm using, a kind of angled, sort of fluffy brush, and I'm also blending it out a little bit around here. Next is setting powder, and it's literally white, so I'm really only using it for under my eyes. And for setting powder, very important, make sure there are no creases under your eyes, because otherwise you will just set the creases, and we don't want that. And then the same thing for the other side as well. I'm not only doing that where I applied my concealer, but just everywhere, because after that I will also go in with some eyeshadow. And I don't want the eyeshadow to just get stuck up here and overall just smudge, so we will set everything. Next is bronzing slash contouring. This shade is pretty neutral, so I just call it a sort of in between. And recently I feel like it looks better if I don't directly apply it onto my face, but instead putting it on the brush first and then applying it like so. And I also like to do circling motions sometimes because I feel like this way it's just easier to blend everything out. And also on the forehead. And the same thing also goes for the other side, obviously. And also for a lifted effect around the eye area. My blush technique might be unusual, but for this I use lipstick always. I'm not a fan of liquid blushes because I just don't really like how they turn out. But at the moment I am mixing my lipstick with some sort of liquid blush, but it's more like a liquid highlighter. So also applying it on the back of my hand. For those of you wondering which blush I'm using, I'm very sorry to disappoint you. It's truly just a little mix and match of 3 products. And then very important, blend it with your finger, not with a brush, because we want it to be even. Just applying it with my fingers. And look at that, it's literally the perfect shade of pink. As you can see, I am so in love. And yeah, just tapping everything on. And while that is also so shiny and glossy, but it's a natural kind of shine, until you end up with something like this. And then for the excess, I like to put it on my nose and then the very excess on my lips. And also your makeup looks much more put together if you have a similar shade on your cheeks as on your lips. So try to also stick to that. I just realized that I forgot to contour my nose, and for nose contouring I'm actually directly applying it onto my nose because I want it to be really precise. Little button nose moment. And then the blending process is less precise, but it works, so it doesn't really matter honestly. And then I squeeze my brush to be thinner and just blend the upper part of my nose, blending it kind of onto my brows, but we're making a curve, you know? So like that, and also around here. Next I'm doing eyes and eyebrows, and for my eyebrows I'm just going in with some hairspray. I just brush my eyebrows slightly up but also slightly to the back, and then also try to brush these ones down to make them a little bit thicker. While this is drying, I'm going in with some eyeshadow and I'm just mixing brown and a little bit of black, but more brown, until you have something like this. And then can be messy, you just apply it and then a very thin line under your eyes that stops here. And the reason you can be messy with it is because we're blending it out afterwards anyways. This is just to give our eyes a little bit more depth. And then for the excess, I apply it in my brows, but I like to only apply it pretty much in the center, or at least I'm focusing on the center because we don't want them to be even thicker, you know? And then you can simply blend it out with your fingers and also away from your face. So I'm always lifting my finger and then doing this basically. So yeah, and you just keep doing that until it's blended, which actually happens quite quickly. And then you blend your waterline just with your other finger, but the tip of your finger, to make it more precise. And from here there are 2 routes you could take. The first one is that you go in with mascara now, and then after that apply these half lashes. These are from Glam. That is what I used to do. And then the other route you could possibly take is to go in with brown eyeliner. I'm using brown because I think black is a little bit too harsh on me, so I'm going in with eyeliner instead of fake lashes basically, and try to have it in the same angle as your eye is, so aligned with your waterline. Also the other one. After applying, you take your girly princess fan and just dry your eyeliner as casually as you can. And the last thing I'm doing is mascara, and I'm applying it in these like wiggling motions. This is the final look. I really hope that you guys like it and that today's video was helpful, and I love you. Bye!